The defendant, Michael Keetley, comes over to the Lucas home posing as a law enforcement officer with a loaded .45 caliber gun. He is looking for somebody named Creeper. Where's Creeper? He's demanding that they show him their identification, but he doesn't wait to see who they are. He immediately starts shooting them. Juan and Sergio Guitron, brothers, both of them died that night.
Michael Keetley is not guilty. This is a case of misidentification, unreliable eyewitness testimony, and circumstantial evidence. Nobody's disputing that these 6 young men were shot at all. And nobody's going to dispute that somebody went up there and did this.
11 months before these horrific crimes, the defendant tragically was a victim himself. He was robbed and shot at gunpoint. That the motive for this case simply is revenge. Did you have a nickname back in 2010?
Yeah.
What was your nickname?
Creep.
You never heard about a guy by the name of Creep? No. Never? Okay. No. So you never asked anybody about a guy by the name of Creep? No. Okay. No.
He tried to kill 4 other victims in this case. All of them that night were in fear for their lives because this man wanted vengeance.
We waited to see what he was going to say. He asked, who's Creeper? And we're like, none of us.
I just seen him coming at us, and then when I turned around, it felt like I got shot as soon as I turned around.
We were all in the line like that, so we started shooting from this way, that way, to right, to left.
He looked at me and he pumped it again, and he shot me in my chest.
My legs and my arm.
Do you know what caused those?
Yes.
What?
45. I mean,
Were you shot in the head?
yeah.
Whose face did you recognize?
The guy that shot me.
What did you do when you saw that photograph?
I started to cry.
Because what?
Anger. It's because of Sergio and Juan.
There are factors that you take into consideration, and they're important for you to take into consideration when you consider the testimony of people that say, that's the guy.
There can be a tendency for witnesses to focus on the weapon, and when they're doing that, there's less time to focus on the face or the other features of the person that they're looking at, likely the perpetrator.
Juan goes over and shows the photograph, the single photograph on the phone, and this is already when Jose's already heard since the night before. Mike the ice cream man, he was the shooter. Juan goes over and shows it, and all of a sudden, Jose goes, that's him. That's the shooter.
He searched for the term creeper 185 times. Ocean mist. He searched for that term 92 times. Law enforcement found a composition book in his house. You'll hear that the detectives went through that composition book, and on one of those pages was written by Jan, Omar's last name, the person who has the nickname Creeper, and an address, 507 Ocean Mist.
The fingerprint at the upper portion of that photograph, I was able to identify as being made by the left thumbprint of Mr. Keetley.
And we were able to arrive at an opinion or conclusion as to whether or not that spent shell casing found at the pasture of the Keetley residence was fired from the same weapon as the 10 casings from the crime scene, or a different weapon than that fired the 10 casings at the crime scene?
Yes, I was.
What was your opinion in that regard?
It was fired in the same firearm as the other 10.
This is Michael Keetley's parents' house. He was so injured that once he came out of the hospital in February of 2010, he was never able to live alone again. His mother would have to help him wipe himself after he used the restroom. But he's on a porch shooting 6 young Men?
He had a brace on his right hand. A lot of times he was wearing it with the sling on there. He wasn't really able to use his right hand. He was mostly using his left hand.
Is there any possibility that on November 25, he could extend or open the fingers of his right hand without the use of his left hand?
No.
On a scale of physically possible to physically impossible, what is the likelihood that his right hand fingers and thumb could independently open without the use of his left hand on November 25?
Impossible.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear affirm any testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you if you've had sufficient time to discuss your decision with your attorneys.
I have.
Have you made a decision?
Yes, I have.
What is that decision?
I'm not going to testify.
Consider everything in its entirety. Consider what is reasonable in your life experience and your judgment. And I suggest to you that if you proceed with your analysis in that fashion, you will return verdicts of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Your Honor, Mr. Keetley is going to waive closing argument. He's going to rely upon the evidence as presented to the court. He's had extensive conversations with Mr. Gonzalez, with me. He knows that I am completely prepared to do this closing argument, and he has instructed me not to.
You just heard what Ms. Gowdy has informed the court, that although she is prepared, ready, willing, and able to present a closing argument on your behalf, that she does not intend to do so because you have instructed her not to. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Has anyone... That is your decision.
That is my decision. Yes, sir.
No one has forced you or threatened you in any way to make this decision?
Not at all.